PC gaming is a trendy hobby but also highly competitive. A game's graphics are an essential part of the experience you can't ignore. It can make or break a game. But how do you know what graphics to choose for a game? The best graphics cards on the market today can push your computer to the limit, and it's time to see what your machine is capable of. If you want to upgrade your graphics card to the absolute maximum, you've come to the right place. Today we're going to look at some of the best graphics of all time in PC games and how to use them to push your PC to the limit. Before, please like and share the video, subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon for more updates. Number 8. Cyberpunk 2077. It should be no surprise that Cyberpunk makes it to our list despite its troubled history. But for sheer GPU grinding, Cyberpunk 2077 is hard to beat. Set in a dystopian future, with nods to classic anime and sci-fi films, the art direction lends to some serious rendering requirements. Activate ray tracing for global illumination, reflections, and shadows, and you can work out your whole PC properly, not just the graphics card. The only problem with this game is that if you set everything to the max, the frame rate will drop to deficient levels unless you use one of the latest maximum price GPUs. It's better to give your graphics chip more breathing space to build up the frame rate. So use mostly high settings and keep ray trace lighting off, but all the rest on. Activate NVIDIA's DLSS if you have a GeForce RTX card or AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution if you have one of their Radeon RX models, though it works on a wide range of other cards, too. Number 7. Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition. This final release in the Metro trilogy of post-apocalyptic games is arguably the best, and the PC Enhanced Edition takes it all one step further. When you read what the developers did to improve on the initial version of the game, it's no wonder it looks so good. Naturally, this excellent rendering piles extra weight onto the GPU's bar, and even on normal to high settings, it'll break out into a sweat in no time. But if your graphics card supports ray tracing, switch that on and set everything else to ultra. As with Cyberpunk, it's worth enabling DLSS, as the higher frame rate will push the processor more. When the recommended GPUs for 60 frames per second at 1080p are an AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT or an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070, you know this game will work your graphics card hard. Number 6. A Plague Tale: Requiem. This brand new title is the sequel to the 2019 hit, A Plague Tale: Innocence, and continues the story of siblings Amicia and Hugo in 14th century France. And just like the first one, this is a graphical tour de force. Developers Asobo Studios used every possible rendering trick to bring artists' visions to life. Unfortunately, this comes at the cost of steep hardware requirements. A Radeon RX 6800 XT or GeForce RTX 3070 are recommended for 1080p on ultra settings, no less. But this makes it a perfect game for this list. With all settings on high, the GPU stress will be up to the best. It's worth noting that ray tracing support wasn't ready at the game's launch but should be present, via patch, within a few weeks or so. To allow you to claw back some frame rate and make your card boil away quite merrily, DLSS is supported, but FSR isn't an option, unfortunately. Number 5. Control. This is an absolute classic game from Remedy, the makers of Max Payne and Alan Wake. The story and gameplay are top-notch, and once the game gets adequately started, the art direction goes bonkers. Put all of the graphics settings to high and enable every possible ray tracing effect if you can, and you'll soon feel the heat coming from your PC. Unfortunately, Control only supports DLSS for boosting frame rate, so owners of Radeon graphics cards may want to drop the resolution down a notch to ensure the GPU is properly exercised. Number 4. Forza Horizon 5. For an open-world racing game, you'd think that this wouldn't be something that would be able to drag a GPU right down. After all, who wants to race at sub-30 FPS? Well, it turns out that fully cranked up, the workload is pretty intense, not as bad as some of the games in this list, but enough to stress your GPU. It's well worth it, though. Forza games have always looked excellent, but Horizon 5 takes it to a new level. Ray tracing is an option that can be skipped in this game because its use is restricted to looking at your cars in a fancy garage. Out on the open roads, it's just standard rendering. And by typical, we mean the standard textbook of modern graphics: massive meshes, silky screen-based reflections, and marvelous motion blur. So slap every setting on maximum and bask in the heat from your GPU. Number 3. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. When developer Nix's software ported this over from the PlayStation, they took the opportunity to throw in every rendering trick possible: horizon-based ambient occlusion, high-resolution shadow maps, and ray-traced opaque reflections were all jammed in there. On maximum settings, the level of detail in the simulation of Marvel's version of New York City is a sight to behold. Naturally, it's time for your GPU to hit the aerobics class. It does scale across various graphics cards well, and it's easy to find a balance between visual splendor and enjoyable frame rate. With graphics set to very high quality, ray tracing enabled, and the resolution set to 1440p or higher, both CPU and GPU will get toasty in no time. It's also one of the few titles in this list where the use of DLSS or FSR isn't essential, but with them active, it's a great stress test. Number 2. Dying Light 2: Stay Human. Techland's sequel to the popular Dying Light from 2015 hasn't been overly blessed with praise, but the parkour with zombies action game looks spectacular. And given that it achieves this by running the whole gamut of graphics gadgetry, it deserves a spot on this list. Like most other games we've covered, ray tracing can be enabled for an instant GPU grind fest. But backed up with DLSS or FSR, you'll have a decent graphics meal for your card to munch through. A different upscaling system will work on any GPU, although the results aren't much to write about. Techland recommends the likes of a GeForce RTX 3080 for 60 frames per second at 1080p with ray tracing, so that should give you a good idea of how much of a test this game offers. Number 1. Hitman 3. This is one game that gets better and better. Development studio IO Interactive has continued to add new features and improve the underlying engine. The stealth-based assassination game is fantastic to play and graphically stupendous. Like so many in this list, ray tracing plays a part in how good it can look, but it's mostly down to the designers and artists spending making every little part just right. Put all the settings on high bar level of detail, which can be pushed to ultra, and it becomes beautiful to behold. You can use DLSS, FSR 2.0, or Intel CSS to improve performance. Set them to the highest quality mode and let your card build up a sweat. Please don't wait to ask in your comments section if you have any other queries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Please like and share the video, subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon for more updates.